Last episode, we reported big announcements, some mini units, as well as luxury electric driving. Check it out with this link here. Today we're getting into M1 testing, Tesla joined the S&P 500 Club, Microsoft, and AMD announcements. So let's fire up the dashboard. Thanks to initial benchmark tests, we have some answers for Apple's M1 processor in real time. Here are some key data points on what to expect from Apple's M1 silicon. Using 4 Firestorm cores for power and 4 Ice Storm cores for efficiency, this 8-core SoC fitted in the new Mac Mini performed, frankly, better than most expected. In single-threaded workloads, the M1 clocks in at 3.2 GHz, which is a 6.66% increase over the 3 GHz of the A14.
Oh, you devil.
But as we know, with great power comes great consumption, right? During the announcement, Apple gave us many colorful charts, but not much comparative data, which in all honesty is pretty useless. A powered on but idle Mac Mini in default state, connected via HDMI to a QHD 144Hz monitor with Wi-Fi 6, mouse, and keyboard, shows total power draw of 4.2 watts, which serves as a baseline for active power measurements moving forward. In single-threaded workloads like GCC code compilation, device power would spike to 10.5 watts with stable draw around 6.3 watts, which is in line with expectations for higher clock Firestorm cores. Kudos to Apple and the M1. For DRAM-heavy work, there's obviously a larger power penalty in the LPDDR4X class 1238-bit 16GB of DRAM, where power once again spikes up to 10.5 watts, and honestly, we're just splitting hairs here, because this is still 1/3 of the power used for a high-end Intel mobile CPU. The power draw of multi-threaded scenarios highly depends on workloads, but in memory-heavy applications where CPU demand is low, active power climbed to 18 to 22 watts on average, but peaked around 27 watts for more compute-heavy stuff. Given the specifics of this test, some overhead considerations were shaved off to guess the TDP, which is assumed to be in the 20 to 24 watt range. Where the GPU is concerned, they observed lower power consumption at 17.3 watts in the GFX Bench Aztec High, which contains a larger amount of DRAM power, meaning Apple's GPU is lower power and well under the peak power that the CPUs may draw. Another difference between the A14 and the M1 is a 128-bit memory bus, opposed to the mobile 64-bit bus on A14. Across 8 times 16-bit memory channels at 4266 MHz class memories, the M1 peaks at just over 68 GB per second bandwidth. There's reduction in latency, measuring 92 nanoseconds at 128 megabytes in comparison to the A14, which sits at 102 nanoseconds.
Fast latency, man.
So far, Apple's M1 became similar to the A14, so we're looking forward to future generations of Apple silicon. It wasn't long ago that Tesla split their stock, making it more affordable for entry-level investors, and now they're being added to the S&P 500 index this December, giving an early Christmas gift to many. In the 24 hours following the announcement, stock jumped 13% in after-hours trading and 7% the following day. The S&P 500 index has people trolling with their trillions of dollars, meaning when a new company is added, fund managers add it to their portfolios, which instantly bumps stock price. Tesla's growth has made them eligible for this move since September, seeing as its market cap exceeded $400 billion and the baseline is 8, and has been profitable over the 4 previous quarters. But for some reason, the committee rejected adding Tesla to the index then, and stock did fall by 15%. Nevertheless, Tesla recorded a profitable 5th consecutive quarter, so now they get the nod, making them the most valuable, newly added company to the S&P 500, already making shortlist for the 10 most valuable stocks in the index. Christmas also came early for Elon, who according to Bloomberg is now worth over $100 billion. Seems like a never-ending tennis match between AMD and Nvidia.
You're Steve Harvey.
And the announcement of AMD's 7nm Instinct MI100 GPU just keeps the volley going. The second generation of AMD's compute-focused CDNA GPU architecture offers peak throughput of 23.1 teraflops in FP32 workloads, beating NVIDIA's A100 GPU. In FP64 throughput, it peaks at 11.5 teraflops, making a 3 times improvement over their previous M150. The PCIe 4 card is designed for AI and HPC workloads, supporting AMD's second-gen Infinity Fabric, which doubles P2P I/O bandwidth between cards. This fabric allows cards to share a memory address space with CPUs, a key advantage for AMD as they are currently the only CPU vendor that also ships data center class GPUs. The MI100 has up to 340 gigabytes per second of aggregate throughput over 3 Infinity Fabric links, deployed into quad-core hives, making these cards very scalable. The Instinct MI100 supports AMD's Matrix Core tech as well, which boosts compute units for mixed data types, which increases performance significantly. The peak clock clock is down to 1502 MHz from the 1725 MHz in the M150, but they doubled the compute units to 120. They've also got 32 GB of HBM2 memory across 4 stacks, providing up to 1.23 TB per second of bandwidth. And AMD claims the MI100 cards offer between 1.8 to 2.1 times more peak performance per dollar than NVIDIA's A100 GPUs.
Pleasant dinner conversation, I'm sure.
But is that only an FP64 and FP32 throughput? Apparently, NVIDIA's A100 still wins with Matrix, FP32, FP16, and a few other workloads. So yeah, game on. Xbox is apparently not all fun and games. Microsoft has introduced the Pluton processor, which drives some of the security features pioneered for current game console CPUs. New security breaches have made Windows rethink their approaches to security using TPMs. Thus, enter the Pluton, a processor that will be used in consumer chips for AMD and Intel in the future. This collaboration between Microsoft, Intel, AMD, and Qualcomm aims to provide robust security preventing encryption theft, physical, and firmware attacks. It'll be used to streamline patches in Windows Update, providing seamless and secure deployments. For example, TPMs are secondary chips that store encryption keys, but hackers find ways to attack the bus connecting the TPM to the CPU.
Need you to get off the bus.
The Pluton is basically built-in security, though this is hardly a new topic for the CPU industry. Without a set timeline, AMD also plans to develop similar features on their future client CPUs and APUs, whereas Intel will likely offer the Pluton as an upgrade, as they already do with their vPro-enabled chips.
Intel. We love you.
Believe it or not, there exists a group of people who want to use VR without a Facebook account. Lucky for them, HP, Valve, and Microsoft have developed the HP Reverb G2, and apparently this tiny tetherless elephant in the room has set the bar pretty high for future VR headsets. The 2019 original offered 2K by 2K resolution per eye with incredible clarity, but left some things to be desired in the ergonomics camera tracking department. 1.5 years later, the G2's display is still ahead of the curve, but it has another 2 cameras with improved lenses for better tracking, better audio, and increased comfortability thanks to their work with Valve. It's kind of a Frankenstein's monster headset with an HP visor, Valve strap, and off-ear speakers. I mean, whatever works because the clarity, depth, and texture of the visuals are beyond believable in its LCD display. Audio and visuals aside, there's still work to be done and compromises to be made. While in view, the 2 redesigned controllers work well and often self-correct because the vertical field of view of the camera isn't great. The tracking, however, may be the Achilles heel.
Why, HP?
Most low, up close, or periphery movements may get lost, which is frankly quite annoying. For me, visuals are the priority, so the other shortcomings aren't deal breakers. It's twice the price of the Quest 2, but it's a viable option for players committed to staying off the social media account requirement. You have just 4 weeks left to enter our epic code red. This giveaway is 1 AMD Ryzen 5000 custom workstation to 1 lucky winner. Entering is easy enough for our fans. Hit the link in the description and check it out. To be eligible for this prize, you have to like this video, subscribe to our channel, follow us on social, and why not check out our product lineup at monolithgroup.ca. I'm Jana, this is Dashboard, and I'll see you next week.